In preparing my 2019 summer update for Euro Travel Secrets by Train, I have discovered something near the end of my journey, and apparently have confirmed it in more than one way, and that is the ability to make Italian Global Pass reservations online and or even uniquely in train stations has apparently ceased to become available, reverting it perhaps to reservations by Rail Europe. You'll see on the map they're color-coded, and we'll go through each one of these. As I start my journey, I'm taking what they call a Besonderzug, a special train, a substitute train, a ICE normal train, instead of the high-speed ICE train. And we're coming into Hamburg. Ich bin ein Hamburger. A little bit of different route, which may explain why tomorrow I'll be going to Cologne, but not directly. I'm going to have to change in Hamburg-Harburg. Well, I got my kind of new second-class adult rail pass validated, and what's interesting is the stamp they used at the main German Berlin Hauptbahnhof station was at the Eurate office. That's fine. What's interesting is the stamp itself is not the normal rectangle, so I'm going to expect some small town conductor get all bent out of shape about that. Be ready when you do go in to make sure the beginning and end dates are right. I had some stagiaire, a trainee, she got it all screwed up and had to initial and cross. I had to reissue the ticket. So, be ready before you go in for the beginning and ending dates. You know what I mean? Okay? Okay. In Hamburg, I'm connecting to Hamburg-Harburg to catch a cheaper train. Doesn't matter if you have a rail pass, but this one I purchased. And we're using a private train here in Germany. It's called Metronome. Generally, your passes are valid all throughout Europe, exception the private trains in Italy, the Tello and the Italo. Here at Cologne's main train station, Cologne Hauptbahnhof, don't forget to miss the cathedral, the dome, is the now closed Thalys store. I'm not a fan of the Thalys train. It has the highest rail pass supplement fees of any major train in Europe. What I missed about it was you could do French reservations, where in Germany, which otherwise would be unavailable given French peak load pricing. Instead, we're going to be taking the ICE German train. No reservations required, no supplement, and that's in spite of the Rail Pass Rail Planner Guide available as an app. Nice thing about that, it's available offline and automatically updates. For the contrast of the Thalys, kind of a purpley color on the right, expensive, here's our ICE train to Brussels. German railroads still provide these timetables with connecting trains, as does Austria, and some major trains in Eastern Europe. Almost everybody else is all electronic. As we come in on the international German ICE train from Cologne into Brussels, with the French from France pronouncing the X, we'll be changing at Brussels Nord, which the expensive Thalys train does not do. That provides a more convenient connection to the Brussels airport, as well as stations up north such as Antwerp and Anvers, and Rotterdam and Den Haag, The Hague, La Haye, as well, of course, Amsterdam. Do be reminded that on the boards for the timetables that in Belgium, they have weekends over there and weekdays over here, substantially different. As we transition from Brussels Nord, we're going to be going to Brussels Midi, or Brussels Sud, if you like, which, by the way, don't confuse with the central station. Turns out the main station is Brussels Midi. This is Brussels South, that's the Dutch way of saying it, or if you like, Bruxelles Midi, think of it as the origin of the word Mediterranean, South France, if you like. And, the reservation office for the international trains had moved over there. It moved back over here. There's another subtle change, so subtle you won't see it because it's no longer there. Throughout Belgium and France, no more public telephones. No big deal, you say. I can think of 3 occasions. How about you when it was helpful to have a public phone? As we start our journey using the rail pass, one change is that the extra page, which is necessary on this trip, is now found inside the Eurail booklet. Another tip, be reminded that you do use leading zeros, especially on dates. Here in Lille, France, we have, the old-timey station, Lille Flanders, that's for the domestic trains for the most part. And then we have Lille Europe. That's for the high-speed international trains for the most part. You can walk it. You can go through the Galleria. You can even take the metro. Supposedly it's complimentary with a ticket, but it's not signed correctly at all, and you can get lost as various other routes. In France, the coach locator boards are electronic. In Germany, they're posted signs. In Italy, they're in television sets. Heads up, on these high-speed trains, you cannot get from one section ram to another. That means you really got to pay attention on boarding. Here in France, in Massy, the two sections of the TGV are separating, or sometimes they come together. The doors will be delayed. One of the new things in the bistro car, the TGVs in France, is the hamburger with a touch of garlic. So a nice thing about a rail pass is spontaneous travel. I happen to be here in Angers, and reason I'm coming from Nantes, going to Tours, where the best French is spoken, on to Saint-Pierre-de-Corps to get a TGV to Paris Montparnasse. I'll deal with that later. And well, it turns out here's a stop that left an hour and a half earlier. And gee, are you going to sit in a hotel room? I'm sick of it. Seen the town. You've tried the little cafe across the street from the train station. Far better pricing, service, and food. And, well, heck, I've added a new town. By the way, that's how I met my last ex. I'm here in Saint-Pierre-de-Corps, literally blocks from the other station, which is Tours, where supposedly the best French is spoken. Going to be taking the TGV train to Paris in Montparnasse. Not a fan. There is no commuter train connections to the other 5 stations in Paris from Montparnasse. Furthermore, it goes through these tunnels that will literally hurt your ears because they were designed so early. They've streamlined the trains, but not the tunnels. We're going to have some tricks on how to deal with that when we get to Paris Montparnasse. In France, electronic tickets do not need to be stamped or fait le compostage, but if you're paper tickets, you probably really should. The only other country I know that does this is Italy, and the Italians, I think, don't do it as much. As we arrive here at Paris Montparnasse, one of the 6 Paris train stations that does not have a commuter RER connection, and I guess you could take the metro with about a dozen stops. No elevators. That means maybe, oh wait a minute, let's go over here. A bus, the 91. Here at the Paris Montparnasse, normally you'd catch the 91. That's the Gare du Nord, Gare de Lyon. Except no, because of all this work, it's all blocked off. We're going to go across the street to Galerie Lafayette. The temporary stop for the 91, we're still going to be going from Montparnasse to Gare de Lyon to Gare de l'Est, and still better than taking the metro, and there's no RER commuter train. Well, because there's a taxi strike here in Paris because of the Uber lifts, and they're blocking the bus lines, we're going to take the metro after all. So we started out of Montparnasse, we took the number 4. Turns out the Châtelet is closed, but we're going to change it Les Halles. And instead, we're now going to take a commuter line. Your tickets are valid, both the metro and the commuter line. It's called an RER. Save us a couple of stops, and we wind up here at Gare de Lyon. Make sure you keep the ticket to the end. They have spot checks, and they make you pay immediately in cash. Or on the RER, the commuter train, you'll need it to exit. For about a year now, the French have had a ticket control, and much like the Spanish have done for about a dozen years, with the exception that the Spanish also do a baggage check, much like an airplane. Boy, this ticket says you got to be there 2 minutes early. No, I'd make it about 10:15. And of course, if if you hurry, you can be first, which serves no purpose on a reserve train unless you got baggage, just like an airplane. Here's a map of French rail lines, the blues being TGVs and the chartreuse ones being inner cities. The inner cities sometimes do, sometimes don't take reservations. The Rail Planner Guide from Eurail is usually helpful in that regard. While I made a reservation from Montpellier to Barcelona, the international train, I noted there's a stop in Béziers, one of the few towns remaining on the south coast of France I haven't done. So I'll be taking this TER, Train Express Regional. So I made this handy little guide doing cut and paste from the Bon DE site, and you get the departure as well as arrival times, and you do that by opening the window associated with the train number. I know it's a little bit of a fetish, but it does provide, among other things, timings for smoking breaks, which you'll notice I've color-coded. While this international Spanish train is nominally French, with half the liveries being Spanish, with alternating numbers and letters for seats, the meal service is Spanish with daily promotions that do change. Here in Barcelona Saints, as we're waiting to make a ticket in advance because it's free between Vigo and Porto, Portugal, I'm going to be taking the Cercanía, maybe the Rodales trains over here. That'll save me the cost of the ticket because it's free with a pass. It takes you to Paseo de Gracia, but not only that, not just the Plaza Catalunya, but actually the two necessary buildings for you tourists by Gaudi. For Paseo de Gracia, you want to head for Estação França. And here on track 13. Here in Barcelona on Paseo de Gracia, and boy, is that convenient. There's a Gaudi building everybody's got to see. Right down here is Plaza Catalunya and the La Ramblas. And I'm taking the free train. That's right, the Cercanía, sometimes also called the Rodales. You'll be looking for the ADIT sign, which literally is the administrative arm, sometimes also marked with a metro stop. I'm not going to take the metro, we're going to take the free train. I'll show you what I mean. See the Barcelona Saints, upper left-hand corner, Paseo de Gracia on the right, and Plaza Catalunya just below. Here in Barcelona Saints, you have a whole bunch of signboards. First of all, these are the long-distance trains. Those are the arrivals. Those are the departures. And over there are the regional local trains, not to be confused with the Cercanía, the commuter trains. And by the way, we will be going through gate control. And in Spain, not only do you have to show your pass and your ticket, but you also have to do a baggage check, just like the airport. Well, I'm using my first paper ticket for the AVE train, the high-speed Spanish train. That was required. Had to go through Rail Europe to get it, unlike the others, which were directly on the home sites and which were electronic tickets. Required a delivery charge and about a 10% surcharge, but now with Rail Europe there's only a $7.95 handling fee, so you want to do them all at once, and it does require delivery by UPS. Here's a heads up. In Europe, I'm using my points card and billing using Capital One because there's no foreign exchange rate fee, and many times they will give you a choice between the euro and say $1, thinking they're doing you a favor. They're not. Use the native currency. So I'm going to be going from Barcelona on the upper right to Madrid, and then Madrid to Vigo, thence to Portugal. That way I'm going to stay overnight in Vigo, and believe it or not, that's even cheaper than taking the overnight train, which is from Madrid to Lisbon. On the Spanish AVE train, finally the so-called Wi-Fi is available, and of course there's going to be problems. After opening it finally, it wants a 13-digit ticket number, which is only available in electronic form, not available in paper form. Turns out I've checked, and it has to be the same train. Oh yeah, you can sign up for free, but boy, is that problematic with passport controls and everything else. Know what I mean? Having just arrived at the Southern High Speed Station here in Madrid, Puerta a la Tocha, here's your killer shortcut.
go to the airport. You're not going to the airport. You get on the commuter train that goes you downtown. You save a lot of steps, a lot of time, and you save the horrible pass control to get back into the system. Normally you'd have two choices using the Cercanía from here to Atocha, and that would be either via Sol, which is the heart of Madrid, or Recoletos. Except they have work on the Recoletos line, so I guess we're going to have to go via Sol. I'm taking this train from Madrid Chamartín to Vigo Guixar. You have to say Guixar. I've taken it many times. Strangely, this time I could not make the reservation on Rail Europe, even though I was way in advance. Turns out I had to do a normal ticket, but you know what? Rail Europe had a cheaper price than the Renfe site, which is the Spanish train site. Go figure. Here are my tickets between Vigo Guixar, you got to say that, and Porto Campagna in Portugal. They're free, made them in Spain. I tried to do them in France. They wanted a full charge. If you go to the Portuguese cp.pt site, they'll still send you to the Spanish site, but you can't do them online for free. Well, let's see. Let's look at those timings. Oh my, one takes 2 hours longer going and coming. No, it doesn't. Portugal is on the same time as the British Isles, 1 hour earlier than Central European time. This is Vigo Guixar as opposed to Vigo Eseis, which is up the hill. That's predominantly for service to Santiago de Compostela and further north. The travel computers do not combine the two, so you do have to be specific. You know, interestingly, I normally avoid the little restaurants inside stations. This one actually happens to be great in all three regards. You know what they are: price, speed, and quality. Here's our international train. By the way, the Spanish call Porto O Porto, and they give it a fancy name, Transalta, when it's really just an ordinary Portuguese suburban train. Oh, by the way, heads up, no food service on this train. As we come into Porto Campagna, it's the mainline station, be reminded that the stub-in station is São Pinto, well worth a visit with its azulejos. Right now I'm at the front of the train, so I can hop right across the parking lot, so I can get a chance to make a necessary reservation for your rail pass that can only be done in Portugal. And I gotta race across there, because otherwise, a lot of them tourist questions, I may miss the opportunity to catch the inner city. Porto Campagna, the arrivals are on the right, departures are on the left. They have three windows: international, inner city, regional. They changed the look of the tickets to now magnetic, and if you're gone Alpha, Conforto is first class, Turista is second. Inner city trains, half hour slower between the two major cities. They have first and second class markings. Here's our inner city train between Porto and Lisbon. It's an old style train. It takes about a half hour longer. Has more stops. We'll be doing the high speed Alpha tomorrow. Here at Orient, Lisbon's penultimate station in both senses of the word, one could have changed it, the suburban train, toward Alcantara, and on weekends Benfica or Campo Lido toward Roicio, but that's the old days. Also, your ticket's no longer valid past Sete Rios. Instead, we're going to go to the last station, Santa Apollonia, taking advantage of the new metro. With the second to last station up there on the right-hand corner, Oriente, and the last station in Santa Apollonia, we'll see that you actually certainly make an advantage. In the old days, you had to change 3 times to get to Roicio, the heart of the city. Here in the heart of Lisbon's Roicio, we could take the metro. We did that. It's over there. Instead, we're going to be taking the interurban line right here. Turns out the interurban line in Lisbon does not accept the rail pass, but I got a trick for you. We're instead going to be taking the interurban line from Roicio, the dead center of Lisbon, and on weekends, changing at Benfica, weekdays at Campo Lido, going toward Oriente. You know, I'm going to be using this magic card, which is new every year, and it's good also on the metro. But, you know, one of the reasons I'm going to keep this card, it only costs 50 cents. I know I'm a cheap son of a bitch. Another reason, look at this line. You avoid that. You go to the machine, and you get in line for the machine that doesn't need a card, just recharges it. Recargar. In Lisbon's main station, Orient, there's a great galleria across the street. Whole bunch of levels going up and down. By the way, little tricky, the ticket offices are upstairs in little tiny backward-facing kiosks. And before you get in the long line, be aware that the international ticket office is on the complete other side. Here comes our high-speed Alpha train, and even though the sign says Braga, that's okay. That's a stop that's after Porto Campagna. So in Portugal, they have these ceramic tiles called azulejos. I've visited every single one of them in the train stations in Portugal. There's almost 3 dozen, but they're fast disappearing. I placed them on a site called Portugal azulejo.tumblr.com. And a short stop from Porto Campagna is Porto São Bento. The most spectacular azulejos in train stations in Portugal. Back here in Vigo Guixar, going to Madrid. There's no direct train today on a Sunday. In fact, Rail Europe didn't show a connection, which they sometimes usually do. Well, I had to get the possibility. Turns out I'm going to be changing in Lyon. Got that from Bon.de. Well, that's okay. Have a paper ticket. Guess what? We're doing a bus. Going and coming. Here in Orleans, and there's a train listed which did not pop up in the schedule, but I got a ticket for it for €6.50. We can't exchange the paper tickets, but it's worth it. Get there sooner. This relatively faster new route between Madrid and Vigo and Santiago de Compostela, we're stopping at newer stations that are out of town. You can tell them because they have a secondary name, much like they do in France. At Madrid's other station, Chamartín, we can go to and from the other main station, Fuenterrabía. Here's a trick for you to save some time. Board the last coach farthest from the direction of travel. You'll see what I mean. Here in Madrid's main train station, Fuenterrabía, the local train gate controls over there. It's really 2 stations. We have the high-speed portion of the station over here. You do board on the upper floor. Oh, by the way, see that little sandwich shop? Worst ever. Told you don't stay. These are just terrible. Here we're on the other side of Atocha, the high-speed side. And no, that's not a ticket office. You want this ticket office over here, far better than the one on the other side. Less of a bordello. And we do board upstairs for the high-speed train. I'm here in the party town Sitges, south of Barcelona, and it's accessible by the Cercanía and Rodales service. It's not listed, though, on the rail planner guide, unlike most commuter trains. For these, you need to go to the Renfe, that's the Spanish rail site, and look up cercanías for each major city. The departure times from Saints to Sitges are at 36 and 6 past the hour for the express train. On this international Spanish-French train that's been only open a couple of years is a good exemplar of the changes before the money, before the union. The old Talgo articulated train would stop at Sevres and Portbou, where you had to go through a mandatory 1-hour passport control, not to mention change your money, and the train wheels themselves had to be changed. Here at Strasbourg, France, watch it, there's another spelling of a smaller town, similarly in Germany. We're going to be changing it to Offenburg. That'll avoid the international supplement fee. Similarly, you can do that in Lille, going to and from Belgium. The real important ones are to and from Switzerland with a very expensive supplement fee. And for Basalia, if you will, Basel, you can do that at Mulhouse. See the spelling? It's Mulhouse. And likewise, Geneva, using Bellegarde. To Italy, you are stuck. The Tello trains do not accept the rail pass. And the best deal there, way in advance, you can get cheap fares. One of the nice things about a pre-printed timetable, which you get from Bond.de, and you expand the information, pull down the train number, cut and paste if you like, is you'll have the track numbers, which is kind of helpful. That's in fact true for all the countries surrounding Germany, save France. With meal service in Eastern Europe being very good on the long-distance trains, in Western Europe, now German trains rank probably the highest, followed by Spanish, French, Italian, and interestingly now Portuguese being last, with formerly rest service. I'm trying the new Fusilli Bolognese. I'm here in a German U-Bahn as opposed to an S-Bahn where your pass is supposedly not valid, but every time they've asked, I've shown them the pass and it was okay. Or maybe they just didn't want to deal with it. We're here at Berlin Zoologischer Garten, that's my right finger, and you can take the X9 bus to Tegel TXL, much preferred over Schönefeld, it's closer in. No train service, so I have a tip, it's half price. Instead, take the bus from Jakob Kaiserplatz. It's half price. I'm here in Berlin's main train station, Hauptbahnhof, and I could go to Hamburg using the ICE train. But look, over here is a Eurocity train. It's a Czech train. It runs a quarter-hour slower. That's okay. Great meal service, old-timey train. Promised I'm here on the Czech train going to Hamburg, and I'm going to be doing the potato soup with a little bit of chicken, as well as the schnitzel. By the way, notice they have happy hour prices. That's usually for trains departing in Czechia. That's what they call the Czech Republic now. And here's the real thing. Guten Appetit. Here's a map of Czech trains, with the red having the excellent meal service, the orange being the Super City reservation-only trains in Czechia, what they now call the Czech Republic, actually not recommended, and the Railjet service, that's being Austrian if it happens to be a red livery, or Czech if it's a blue livery. Highly recommended. Here again, I'm billing in the native currency to get a better exchange rate. And even though I'm in Germany, I'm billing it in Českou kroner because it's a Czech train. If they add letters to the platform, that means something. I happen to be on a fourth-generation ICE German train, so the seat locators happen to be in a different spot. You don't need a reservation on your pass, but do note you will see many times a reservation. It does cost money, but you don't need it. What you look for is something like this, reserved for Bond comfort. No reservation required. When in Munich, make sure you stop by the Eurate office and say hello to Alan. He knows everything. I'm here on an Austrian train where 4 of them leave Munich daily to Italy, 2 to Venice, Venedig, and 2 to Bologna, 1 further on to Rimini. It does take a mandatory extra supplement for the Italian portion. You can make a cheaper reservation using the Austrian OEBBAT site. That's separate, and I'm trying a little mini schnitzel with your obligatory Almdudler. Here at Verona Portanola, and there's more than one station anytime for changing directions. And as always, they only show the direction of the train to the border.